This is Paul Lane from the KCAA Morning Show, and this is an exclusive interview with one of my, I would say, when it comes to being a mentor, being a motivational speaker, and just being an all-around great individual who has helped so many people out there. We're talking about Dr. Maya Angelou, and she joins me right now on this exclusive interview. Dr. Angelou, how are you doing today?
I'm splendid. Thank you very much.
It's an honor to have you on, and you are very distinguished. You have done so much in your life. And one of the things we wanted to talk about today was that what was it like growing up with your grandmother the first 13 years of your life? And do you see a difference in how kids are growing up today?
Oh yes, there are differences. Not everybody, we can't lump everybody together. So today's young people, some have families which care about them and dare to tell them you're the most important people in the world. And some parents don't know that, and so they can't say that. And so the young people sometimes are raising themselves. And it is of interest that not enough adults tell the youth in our communities that you're the best we have. We ain't got nobody better.
Absolutely.
And you've already been paid for.
Absolutely.
So in my books and my poetry and the songs I write and the life I live, I try to say to young people, I respect you and I care for you. And if I don't have you, I have no one.
That is so true.
And young people hear me, and I'm happy to say they like me.
Yeah.
They respect me.
And that's always a challenge when it comes to being an adult and having a teenager to really like you, because growing up, I remember when I was a teenager how I viewed adults as the enemy, and wrongfully so, because adults have some great insight. They lived as teenagers before, but Dr. Angelou, I think you are spot on when it comes to children, and looking at what you accomplished at a young age in San Francisco. You mind sharing that story with us as a teenager?
Oh no, I don't mind sharing anything. I've written about my life and I've tried to tell the truth. And that's what all of us should do. Tell the truth. Don't tell everything you know.
Absolutely.
Just try to make sure that what you do say is the truth. And my mother had a phrase. She said, say what you know to be truth and be prepared to say it in a closet or say it on the city hall steps and give anybody 20 minutes to draw a crowd.
Absolutely.
Tell the truth. So young men and women who listen to me, I'm blessed that they believe me, whether it is Tupac Shakur or Dave Chappelle. They have listened to me, and I'm grateful. In a book about Tupac called Revolution, there's a letter that Tupac's mother wrote to me in that book, and she said, my son told me what you said to him, and I thank you. You may have saved his life.
Wow.
When he was cursing so much in front of everybody, and as I passed him on the set of Poetic Justice, he was cursing, and he saw me and he didn't stop. Usually young people will stop when I walk by. They
Absolutely.
don't, just out of courtesy. But he wouldn't stop. He did it twice. And finally, when I walked up to him and asked him, when is the last time anyone told you that you're the best we have? When is the last time? And I talked to him. And finally, he listened. And I went back to my trailer on the set, and Miss Janet Jackson came to me. She said, Dr. Angelou, I don't believe you actually talked to Tupac Shakur. I said, baby, I don't know six-pack. I never heard. It wasn't, because that generation is not in the world I live in, to make me conscious of them. But I know that they're my children. And I know that you have to have courage to speak to young people, because anybody can turn around and tell you, go to hell in a bucket. But you have to have the courage to speak to them. I owe it to them.
Absolutely. And that is so profound. And if you're just tuning in to the KCAA Morning Show, it's an exclusive that we have with very distinguished guest, Dr. Maya Angelou, telling us about her life, her story, and just talking about some of the great things that she's been able to accomplish with talking with kids. And Dr. Angelou, like with me too, like I get a chance to do some motivational speaking because I am a quadriplegic. I'm confined to a wheelchair. Been this way for 20 years, and I've just over the last few years branched off into motivational speaking, and I've been talking to younger ones who are disabled. Mm-hmm. And I totally understand what you're talking about, letting them know that you're their friend, because one thing I found out from their parents and talking to their parents is their parents are like, my child never opens up to me. How did you get him to open up? And, it's true. You have to be their friends. And
yes, exactly.
You brought up a very good point about your mother. You talked about her. I know in your book you talked about her, too. How was your relationship like, or what was your relationship like with your mother?
Well, she let me know that she was my advocate. She was on my side. If the teacher or the principal said I had done a terrible thing or I had not done what I was supposed to do, my mother was on my side. And she would go to the school and say, exactly, what have you not done for my daughter? What should you have done for my daughter? And so I knew I had somebody on my side. And so I raised my son that way. And I'm happy to say that my son is one of the most courageous and kind men I've ever known, because he always knew he had somebody on his side. Now, that didn't mean I endorsed him getting away with things that were bad.
Right.
But even so, when I chastised him, it was never in front of anybody. I didn't embarrass him. But I talked to him directly, and I said, if you did this, what does that say to me? That you don't care what I'm saying? Speak to me. And so he said that no time in his life has he ever asked the question, am I loved? He knew he was loved.
When it comes to single parents out there, because you were a young mother at 17,
yes.
What lesson did you learn then that you can teach young mothers today? Because it seems like our young mothers are not being taught the values.
I know. I know, and quite often they hit children. Hitting a child doesn't do any good except make him or her very uncomfortable and make him feel like I have nobody. I know at one time, when my son was about 7, I gave him a seeing to. He was chewing gum, and I asked him, where did he get it? He said, out of your purse. Uh-oh. So I said, but you know that you're not supposed to go in my purse. Why did you do it? And he didn't answer, so I gave him a spanking. And then I said, okay, I hope you never do that again. He said, so do I. So I said, you mean to tell me I've given you a seeing to and you still have lip? He said, I hope you never hit me again. Did you ever see how big you are? I'm only 7 years old. I tell you, Mr. Lay and Paul, that gave me a comeuppance. I said, I will never hit you again. I give you my word. I'm sorry. Yeah. But I said, I will deal with it. I'm raising a black boy in a racist country. You have to learn to obey. I'm thinking of the best for you. So whenever he'd do something I didn't agree with, I'd say, all right, sit down and explain to me, why did you do that? And so many times his friends were outside saying, come on, guy, let's go. We're supposed to be playing. And he said, please let me go. I said, no. Explain to me why you did this. Finally, he asked me when he was about 10, Mom, can you give me a spanking like other kids get?
You know, that's how it was with my father. My father was the talker. My mother was the spanker. So my dad would talk to me. He would open up scripture to me, too, and he would read to me, you know, of why I was going to get punished. And I'm thinking, Dad, just go ahead and give me a whooping like Mom does. It'd be over in the Army. But I totally understand. And you talked about racism. And you grew up when racism was rampant. I mean,
yeah, of course.
You dealt with all those things. So what really gave you that power within yourself to help share such inspirational truths with others now?
Yes. Well, the truth is, the more things change, the more they remain the same. We're still in a racist society.
Absolutely.
That's the truth of it.
Absolutely.
And so the young black child needs to be informed that she has the support. The young white child needs to know what has gone on in his father and grandfather's time, in his grandmother's time. They need to know this, not to cover it over with sawdust and pretend it didn't happen. Tell the truth to the children.
That is so true.
I mean, you can't make a person pay for something his grandfather did, but you can't help them not to repeat it.
Absolutely. And Dr. Maya Angelou, here in the Southern California area, we have a tremendous problem, and I definitely want to get your insight, input on it. It's a sad situation that in one of our largest cities in Southern California, San Bernardino County, due to the bankruptcy that they're in, prostitution has taken over, and it's directed to the very, very young girls. If you could sit down with a mother whose daughter or son are involved in some way in prostitution, this may be the only time we can reach them. What message would you give her to help her child love themselves and get out of that life?
Yes. I think that quite often the mother doesn't value herself. If she valued herself, she'd value the children. But there are too many people who do not show her the respect and courtesy and value she deserves. So then since she doesn't, you can't give something you don't own. In fact, there's an African saying which is, be careful when a naked person offers you a shirt. Mm-hmm. If the young woman doesn't value herself, how can she teach her daughter that she's of value and shouldn't become a prostitute?
Absolutely.
You see?
Absolutely.
So she has to know that she's already been paid for. She has to read the literature, read and see what Fannie Lou Hamer said, see what Harriet Tubman said, see what Betty Shabazz, the wife of Malcolm X, said, see what the wife of the widow of Martin Luther King, Coretta Scott King, said. See, listen. And then you say, oh, wait a minute. These women respected themselves. And then you can encourage them to say, I'm not anybody's hoe. Wait a minute. I'm not anybody's bee. No. I'm a child of God, for one, and I'm a proud black woman. I come from a group of people so incredibly proud, so incredibly strong, that we lasted, and we are still here after the many legislators said that by the 20th century, all the blacks would be dead or gone.
Absolutely.
And I'm still here.
Absolutely.
Upwards of 50 million.
Yes, and we are definitely here, and we are not going anywhere. We're interviewing right now Dr. Maya Angelou. She's a very distinguished person out there, and it's an honor to have her on the air with us today. A couple of the questions I'd like to ask you, because you brought up a very good point about loving, a person loving themselves. Why do you think so many people do not know how to love themselves?
Well, because so many people think of love as sentimentality and mush. That's not love. Love liberates. Love is that condition in the human spirit so profound that it allows us to develop courage.
Absolutely.
Love may be that quality which keeps the stars in the firmament.
That is so true.
But I know it's not mush. It's not
so
sentimentality.
That is so true. And one last question. You give of yourself so much to so many people. You give comfort. You give hope with your poems, with your words of encouragement, your words of wisdom. Where does Dr. Maya Angelou get her comfort from?
Mr. Lane, Paul, I'm a child of God. It's so amazing. So amazing. I know that I grew up in a little village in Arkansas, smaller than your studio. A small black girl who, for all intents and purposes, had been abandoned by her mother and father. To my father's mother, given to her in Arkansas. I had been raped when I was 7. I stopped talking. So many things had happened. And yet today, because my grandmother loved me, and my brother loved me and I loved him, and I later found that my mother loved me. I don't mean she just indulged me. I mean she loved me. And because of that, I came to love myself and see that I was worthy of being loved. And I looked this morning at my Facebook page, and they say you're very lucky if you have 1 million people on your Facebook. I have 4,400,000.
Wow.
That means that people all over the world, South Africa, all through the African continent, in South Asia, in Eastern Asia, in Europe, and in the United States, I am respected, and I'm grateful for it. So I live a life, I try to live fairly, honestly, with respect, appreciation, and always trying to lift somebody else up.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Pauline.
And you do that. And Dr. Maya Angelou, it's been an honor talking to you. And I hope one day I get this honor and privilege to do this again.
It will be my delight.
So well. So you enjoy the rest of your day. May God continue to bless you.
Audience.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.